So, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever you're watching this. I'm here with Erik Meier, owner, entrepreneur, Sandler Training, EAM Consulting Services. And in the middle of all this craziness and hectic and madness times, we coach, we teach. It's what we do every day. It's whether we do it in person or it's whether we do it virtually. So, Erik and I, both Sandler sales trainers, were talking and said, let's help people. Flat out, let's help people. Let's give them free training and free tutoring, because sales is going to be very, very important when they come back. And they can continue to sell no matter what's going on. So, Erik Meier.
Chris?
Let's help some people. Let's coach some people.
I love it. I think it's a great idea.
So, with the Sandler selling system that we use and that we coach, we have our 49 rules. David Sandler wrote these. Do you remember when? I don't remember when the book was published.
The book was published maybe 15 years or so ago.
Okay.
But the Sandler rules have been compiled over the last 40, maybe even 50 years now.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, this is stuff that Erik and I live every day. This is stuff that we try to help people with every day. So we figured we'd try to help you every day. So I don't know. We're going to make this up as we go. The first one's going to be great. The second one's going to even be better. And the third one's going to be amazing. And by the fifth one, we're going to be like Spielberg on these things. But to get started, Erik, what's rule number one?
Rule number one, Chris, you have to learn to fail to learn to win.
Wow. In the chaos of today, how appropriate, you think?
Appropriate. Very much so. Right? You have to learn to fail to learn to win. And I think, something I've been hearing a lot of for newer business owners, newer sales professionals, or newer entrepreneurs is that they, in some cases, haven't really failed until recently. If they started their business post-recession, more or less, life it's had its struggles, but it's been pretty good. The economy's been pretty good. There hasn't really been a lot of strong failure or very trying moments, short of their own personal struggles and closing business and growing their companies. So this is a conversation I've had a couple of times here recently with newer people to the business world who just haven't been around for 10 years or so, and they're learning now what that really means. You have to learn to fail to learn to win. And sometimes that failure is really driven, maybe even all the time, is driven by things that are out of your control, and you got to go back and focus on what you do have control on and take control of that.
So, Erik, what is an example of something that we can remind people that they can take control of? I'm thinking cookbooks.
Yeah, very much so. And going with that example, anyone that hasn't been through a period of time where the economy's slowed down, or there have been environmental factors, or social factors, or economic factors where the phone stops ringing and referrals stop coming in. The one thing you can always control is the proactive approach to reaching out to prospects and reaching out to potential clients, and doing that consistently day in, day out, using what we call a cookbook, which is a sales plan. And that's one of the failures that I think a lot of people will recognize when there's a disruption to the normal flow of life, is that if they have failed to plan to have a sales behavior plan in place, then that's a good lesson here. They have learned that failing to plan there has put them in a position where they can learn something else and put them in a position to win. And that would be cookbook and prospecting, day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. As harsh as it sounds, Chris, I remember getting this message when I was newer to the business. The day you stop proactively prospecting and the day you stop proactively reaching out to generate new conversations is the day you consciously make the decision to eventually go out of business.
Yeah.
It's harsh, but it's the truth.
So an interesting conversation to have with you, as you still coach me on a daily basis. Imagine a world where the resources and supplies in the grocery store aren't what you want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine there's a shortage of toilet paper. Imagine there's a shortage of something for your cookbook. Yep. You and I both know that the most prospecting that I do, the behaviors that I do the most is networking, whether it's Chamber of Commerce through Rochester, the Auburn Hills Chamber, the Flint Chamber, alumni associations, PCN meetings, talks that I give. A lot of my prospecting comes in my cookbook comes with meeting people, shaking hands, exchanging business cards. Doesn't mean that that's going to end. So today I hosted for my buddy Keith Stonehouse, his real estate masterminds group through a Zoom meeting like this. We only had 10 people. The last time I gave one of these talks, there's probably 30 people in the room. We were all kind of skeptical. We were all kind of like, okay, how the heck's this going to work? But we did it. Yep. And we took time for everyone to go around the room, make some introductions. My friend Cece, her daughter Anna popped in the background. One of the guys, his cat kept walking across his keyboard, but darn it, some of those guys are realtors and they had listings to share and they shared them. Keith's the title guy and he's trying to figure out how he can still do closings virtually. One of the inspectors, the home inspectors, she flat out said, look, normally if you're doing a home inspection, it's a big family event. You invite your mom and dad, you invite your wife's mom and dad, you bring your kids. Now if we're doing a home inspection, stay home. Leave everybody else back except the non-essentials, but that doesn't mean they're not going to do the inspections. They're going to still keep doing them. So, Erik, I know that you've done some coaching and some training online. We have the Sandler e-learning library, the SELL system, and I'll put a link in the bottom of this for the SELL, Sandler e-learning library, where there's some great tools available for people if they want to learn what a cookbook is, if they want to make sure that they focus on prospecting and maybe not look at this as a failure, but look at this as an opportunity. If everyone else is going to put their head in the sand, like what's the bird that does that? Like an ostrich, and you're out prospecting and you're networking and you're using cell phones and laptops and technology to continue to prospect. Maybe the business isn't today. Maybe it's next week when it calms down a little bit. Maybe it's you get stuff in the calendar for a month from now when you know people are going to be available. Maybe you have that international client that travels constantly that you know is now locked down and actually going to be at their phone for once. I'm just trying to look at ways that we can be a disruptor ourselves in this disruptive market to find opportunities.
Absolutely. And that's probably one of the most important lessons, I think, in a professional seller's world when they're in an environment like we're in now, is what the real value of professional selling is. And as much as we, at Sandler, teach the conversation, what we also teach is the mindset. And a professional salesperson is a problem solver. First and foremost, that's what they are. This is a great place and a great time to be able to demonstrate the ability to solve problems. Chris, you had a great example of it. Networking couldn't happen face-to-face. You solved the problem. We build a webinar environment. 3 people show up. Anyone listening to this might say, well, it wasn't a good use of time because it wasn't 30. That's a perspective. The other perspective is, those are 3 people that we spent time with. There's compound interest gain there, demonstrating being problem solvers, and that's where credibility comes from.
Well, it was kind of funny on the call today. We were wrapping it up, and we all said it's not natural, and it might not have been perfect, but we all felt like we got something out of it. This class the speech that I normally give to the real estate masterminds is normally about how they can do some networking virtually. And I normally use it as a workshop where I don't get up there and I talk to them for half an hour. I make them pull up their phones and look up their Google reviews. I make them pull up their phones and look at their LinkedIn connections and their recommendations. I teach them what a QR code is, because especially with these realtors, if they're sitting at a closing table, it's really easy for them to share a QR code, share a LinkedIn connection, and ask for referrals, ask for recommendations, ask for testimonials, ask for reviews right there at the closing table, where you might have another agent, a mortgage banker, happy sellers, happy buyers, title agent, mortgage, all that stuff. Well, I couldn't do it. It's a Bluetooth function through the phone, and I'm here in Clarkston. Keith's over in New Baltimore. Cece's over in Shelby Township. I don't know where Christian was from. One of the guys was in Grosse Pointe, so my Bluetooth doesn't go that far. But you know what? We figured it out when we rolled with the punches. Yeah. And we all said it was worth it. So tomorrow I'm supposed to drive out to Livonia and present to another one of these groups. And you know what? It ain't going to happen. So we all said not only we're going to go back on tomorrow, we're all going to make sure we invite and bring one friend with us. So we can get that group of 10 to 20 tomorrow. Sky's the limit. We'll see what we can do to figure this out as the new normal. I'm just trying to figure out if I need to clean the bookshelves in the background, if this is going to be the permanent thing. Do I have to move my diploma and make that one visible instead of my wife's?
No, I think it looks good. Actually, we should talk about the elephant in the room, which is the kind of role reversal here. No, not that elephant.
Oh, I say
Uh,
there's an elephant in my room?
no, where I usually have the sport coat and the button-up shirt on, and now I'm rocking the hat. I got the three-quarter zip on. You got a nice tie on. Looking
Well,
sharp.
I'll have you know that for the call that I hosted today, my kids were home. My wife took them to the park, so I have a little bit of peace and quiet now. But my son Gannon asked if he could co-host the call with me, and I said sure. And then I said, but if you're going to do it, you've got to get out of your pajamas and get dressed. So he went upstairs and he got a button-down shirt and he asked if he could put a tie on because he was going to work with Dad. So I can't let the kids show me up. So I went upstairs to put a tie on. My 10-year-old found the tie that I took her to the daddy-daughter dance in 5 years ago that she glued a flower to make it better. So she picked out this tie, which has stains and wrinkles and
a glued flower.
But you know what? I got up. I'm working on my cookbook. I'm going to continue to network. We're going to find some consistency. We're going to find some calm in this storm, and we're going to keep working. So examples of cookbooks for our clients, we teach them to look for phone calls they can make. Everyone still has their phone, guys. How many emails can they send? Everyone's got an email on their phone. They're working from home. They have their laptops. LinkedIn connections. Everybody is probably hitting refresh on LinkedIn and Facebook over and over for new news. Not Erik, he doesn't believe in Facebook, but he's all over LinkedIn. Networking events, find a virtual one. Find a Facebook group, find a LinkedIn group, whether it's your alumni association from your school, whether it is something involved in your church or a nonprofit, a philanthropy that you're involved in. Just off the top of my head, I have my Lacrosse Officials Association. I have the U.S. Lacrosse members. I have Our Lady of the Lakes Church. I have Our Lady of the Lakes Knights of Columbus. I've got the Brother Rice Alumni Association. I've got the Oakland University Alumni Association, Chamber of Commerce's. There's still places virtually to go and meet people and interact. Erik, what else do we have in our cookbook? Talks. Yep. This podcast is basically us giving a talk, a speech, a presentation like we give all the time, but now it's going to be historically archived in YouTube. So just remember, Erik, one of your first YouTube videos, you're wearing a goofy looking Adidas hat, but
I'm excited about it, right? The only other one that's up there has got one of the goofiest freeze frame moments my face has ever been captured in.
Perfect.
Like I'm half sneeze coughing at the same time, and it's just right there. So this will be an improvement, Chris. I'm excited about it.
Well, and I'm wearing a white shirt that's kind of blurring everything out, and I never realized how much I touch my face until I'm looking at it on camera doing this in an era when I'm not supposed to be touching my face.
No, I was going to point that out, but I'm glad that you mentioned it.
I haven't scratched or picked my nose in this one. Let's just be happy we got this far.
That's good. Learning to fail to learn to win, maybe even in relation to what's going on today in Cookbook, is finding industries. I've heard from folks that I'm talking to, and they're airing, right? They're not complaining, but they're airing some of their fears. And I've heard them say things like, we're worried that the people that we normally do business with have decided they're just going to go on hold right now, right? The world's coming to a grinding halt. No one's going to do anything. And I think logically it's okay to agree with that to some extent. There are going to be industries that are really going to be hit hard by this. They can't even operate, right? And I think it's fair and it's appropriate to acknowledge that. But in learning to fail to learn to win, part of your cookbooking and your prospecting and your sales behavior should be to figure out and find and be strategic about which industries that's not true for. And we've made a shift, and I've made a shift in my thought process, who I'm asking for referrals to, who I'm looking up on LinkedIn right now, and the kind of industries that I want to talk to, because there are just as many industries that are going to be booming even now. Right? I can give you an example of one of them deals with consumers in healthcare. What they need help with isn't prospecting. What they need help with right now is using the Sandler process to be able to navigate which conversations are most likely to be able to be completed, because they're getting bombarded by these inbound calls right now.
Yeah.
Right? So, focusing on that, and you're going to fail along the way. You'll find, if you're prospecting right now, you'll find industries where people will say things when you call them like, we're not doing anything right now. That's okay. That's just one more lesson learned, and keep moving.
It's interesting that we always teach in our upfront contracts to get a yes or
Yep.
get a no. And sometimes that no is just a not right now.
Yep.
But, we had a webinar yesterday that we hopped on with the CEO of Sandler. And, one of the things that he was really advocating was just check in on people.
Yep.
Just call and be a resource. This Sandler Selling EAM Consulting Group podcast, webinar, YouTube, whatever we're calling it, came directly out of that of how can we help people. So maybe we can offer some free coaching and free training based on the Sandler Selling that we have. But some of these people, just a simple call and check in and how are you doing?
Yep.
Might be appropriate to plant that seed for prospecting in a week, in a month, in 6 months when they are ready. Maybe it's going to be that seed that we plant with somebody that realizes when they come back, sales is the number one thing they have to do. They have to get money in the drawer. And the fact that we didn't call them and really try to sell them anything today, we just checked on them. We just offered to help.
Yep.
I got to think that's going to go a long way. Either that or we're going to get into the glove and mask business and become billionaires.
Hey, for thinking of industries, right? There's a couple right there. So
Yeah.
Let's find the glove and mask people. But no, there's plenty to do. Perspective will always determine what that market really looks like. And we have a choice and we can choose what perspective we want to use to look at whatever market we find ourselves in. I choose to go find the opportunities. I know they're out there and I encourage everyone to look at it the same way.
Yeah. So the book that we're working from is The Sandler Rules, 49 Timeless Selling Principles and How to Apply Them. Going to give everyone a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge hint. I'm pretty sure if you join Audible, you get 2 credits free for your first month, or they have a 30-day trial, I think.
You can just pick it up.
What's that?
You can just pick it up for free, I think, if you do that, right?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you can go and get it as a download through Amazon, or there's available even in their Audible ebook library. So if you don't have a Kindle and you just want to listen to it, there's an Audible app in the App Store for Apple and Android. So maybe if you're interested, you can follow along with Erik and I. I don't know if you wanted to do these daily, a couple times a week, couple an hour. I don't know, but I just think that as we kind of threw our head over the fence and said, let's do this, we started them. So everybody at home, we're going to create a channel. As my kids always say on their like, follow, and share stuff at the bottom. Erik and I will put our emails in there. If you have any questions or want to get a hold of us directly, we'll put our link to our website, links to our LinkedIn, whatever we can to connect with folks. I don't know if it's going to be your wife and my wife watching this. Maybe we'll make Susan watch it too, who's our office manager, but it's something. Let's start helping people.
My girls love seeing Dad on YouTube, especially when it's the cough sneeze face, Chris. So just make sure you freeze frame it at yes, that's the moment.
Yes. So
it's high quality video. We're going to have fun with it. Send us questions. Let us know what you want to talk about. Chris and I are going to do a number of these, and we're going to try to do our part. We shared some information. We'd like to share some value, and we'll do our best.
So rule number 1, we covered. Let's also, do you want to preview what we're going to talk about maybe tomorrow?
No, let's make it a mystery.
Good, because I don't know what the next rule is. I don't know them in order.
There's something in there about, I don't know. We'll have to make it up next time when we get together. Tune in tomorrow. We'll cover Sandler rule number 2, whatever that one is, and we'll dig into it, Chris. Fair?
Well, let me rip through a couple of my favorites, and that way we can kind of preview them for what's coming in the future.
Yeah.
Become a servant leader. Put the needs of your team first. A lot of leaders in a pretty challenging time right now. I still rock this periwinkle band for Stephen Luigi Piazza, who was the ultimate servant leader. That was one of my mentors back in my Rock Financial days. So preview that one. What else we want to follow? The 4 Goldilocks steps. Use a middle ground management strategy. Train your team. I don't know. We're going to find a lot of these. A lot of these are rules for salespeople and sales leaders. So I don't know.
Okay. Chris, you've got the 49 sales rules for sales leaders in front of you.
I do.
If you guys are worried that this was scripted, now we know it's not the case.
There it is. Sandler rules.
There's also the 49 rules for salespeople. We'll grab that one. Good news is that rule we covered today is in both books, so we are on the right track, and they're all applicable for sure. So we'll keep them together. Oh.
Perfect. All right, Eric, make it a great day. I'm going to go back in my cookbook. I hear some little child trying to get through the door into my office, so make it a great one, and I'll talk to you soon.
Love it. Thanks, Chris. Great idea, by the way.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.
All right.